All right. In this video, I want to talk about the so-called Christian hierarchy and help people understand this here. Because in Christianity, there isn't really a hierarchy in the way that we think of it anyway. You see, we have God, right? And then we have his children, right? That would be the church, right? So we are all bros and sis. We'll just put sisters because that looks a little weird. We're all bros and sisters, and that means we're all just this little happy family where ultimately who has the authority? The Father, right? God, right? And you can say someone like Jesus is like the mother here, right? So this is the authority, right? And when the parents are gone, they're out working on the farm, they're doing whatever they're doing. There may be an older brother, older sister that would be in charge, right? They're going to be what would be called a bishop, which is always a male, just to make that clear. And this is just an overseer. I think that's right. And we all, as brothers and sisters, should actually know our father, our mother, our own parents, right? We should all know the rules. The older sibling who is acting as a bishop and overseer should be enforcing what the parents have said. So if they are not doing that, we are under no obligation to obey them. You see, we keep them in check saying, hey, you need to be doing this over here, but you are establishing yourself as the authority, and you're actually going against God, our Father over here. We are under no obligation to obey you. Right? You're supposed to enforce what God has already established, that the rest of the children obey the Father. You are trying to usurp that place. You see, the Christian so-called hierarchy, which is not what you see like in the Catholic Church. In the Bible, you actually have, you got God, who would put an F here for Father, and we have Jesus, who's the head of every man, right? And then you have the man, because Jesus is the head of every man. You got the woman, and then you have the children, right? And the head of every man is Jesus. The head of every man is not a bishop, the apostle, or a church. This right here is the church, right? So this is the only hierarchy we see. Every man is equal to every other man, and woman is equal to every other woman, and every child is equal to every other child, right? You just look at it as children. When you look at the children, do any of them have authority over one another? No, but you might set one who you believe is responsible and mature to look over the other ones while you're gone, but you don't expect them to take over and make up their own rules while you're gone, right? If you're the parent or the teacher in a classroom, right? If you leave and you find out the one that you put in charge started to make up new rules and started to become this tyrant, you would rebuke them, and you would actually be proud of the children that stood up against it, because the one you put in charge to actually enforce you in what you've already established, right? So hopefully you understand what I'm saying here is that when this group here of the church puts somebody in place, where what we see in the scriptures is they'll put in what I already wrote there, a bishop. And then they have people who will help them out, which would be deacons. Now, what we don't see in the scriptures is cardinals, popes, or pontiffs, right? We don't even see priest, as every man in the scriptures here in the New Testament is a priest. So there isn't a separate class of priest. Every man is a priest, right? And all the priests have the authority to read the scriptures, to understand the scriptures, and go straight to God themselves, right? So this is very key right there. Now, we don't see these kind of things or anything else other than this right here. And their job, again, is overseers, kind of like older brothers, older sisters who are looking over the family, yet they're not in charge. They're just there to make sure you're all obeying the one who is in charge, God, the Father. But if you see that these people here are not the ones actually obeying God, they're trying to take the place of mom and dad there, setting up their own authority. Mom put me in charge, I can make up the rules. Well, then it's like, okay, we're not going to follow those people. Right? Just like Paul in Acts 17:11 praises the Bereans for being noble. Because when he told them something, they tested what he said to the scriptures. They didn't just take his word for it. They looked at the scriptures. Hey, is this what God actually said? And they're like, hey, what he's saying lines up with God. So we know we can trust him. So if you could do that with Paul, who's an apostle, then you can do it with everybody else. Everybody else. And if they are not for that, they don't think you can do that yourself, then they don't believe the scriptures and they're trying to usurp the place of God's authority. Right? So these people who are actually supposed to be, I'll read right here, bishops and deacons here, they are servants. But you see, what happened here in the church is the same thing we see here in America, where the president and the government in general are supposed to be servants to us. They're supposed to be servants to us. But what has happened? This thing has all been flipped. Right? They turned everything upside down. Just turned it all up. And now they're supposed to be the ones with the authority, and we're supposed to serve the government. And that's pretty much what we're doing now as wage slaves, serving the government and upholding its economy and keeping everything going and serving in its military, right? We have to do all these things because the government is not serving us. We're serving it. And you see how it just totally distorted everything. That's history repeating itself, because the American government was supposed to be the same thing we see in the church, where the bishops and deacons are servants, but you can see in groups like the Catholic Church and most of the Protestants even now, they have done this same thing right here, where they turned it upside down, where you serve the bishops and deacons, and you need to submit to their authority because Christ isn't your head, as Christ is the head of every man. It's now the bishop, or what you might call your priest, or your pastor, or your minister, or your reverend. They may call them different names today, but they're all basically your bishop, and they're supposed to be your servant, but for some reason you treat them as if they're your master. When Jesus was saying, call no one your master because I am your master. Don't call any religious leader father because you have one Father in heaven. Right? And then he tells them, the apostles, you're not to lord over one another. You're not like the Gentiles. You're all on an even playing field here. You're all children, brothers and sisters. You're on equal playing field here. So when these people try to create this kind of hierarchy here, and they think you are down here and they are up here, or they might be here and we should be obeying the people that are up here, well, then you realize that this is a satanic little Ponzi scheme going on here, a little con, a manipulation, because this is not what we see in the scriptures. And this is to usurp the place of God. They want you to hold them up, their lie. But if you are saying, no, we're all equal, well, then what you're doing is you're taking them and tearing them down and putting them on your level. And then they think when you do something like that, you think you're equal with us. Well, then you have an ego, right? And you're exalting yourself. Who do you think you are? You're equal with them? And it's like, who do they think they are that they're not equal with me? Why do they think they're above me? Why do they think they're above you? They are men and women just like us. What makes you think they're above you? What makes them think they're above us? They're the ones with the ego. They're the ones with what they would call the authority issue, right? Because their issue is that they want the authority and you don't think they have it, because they don't. And since you don't bow to their authority, you have an authority problem. But in reality, they have an authority problem because they think they have authority. And they have authority over you. And then when you call out their stuff, they always project, right? You have an ego problem. You're exalting yourself. Who do you think you are? You have an authority issue. Then it's like, well, look at the mirror here, buddy. You're the one that thinks you're above me. I don't think I'm above you. I think I'm equal to you. You think you're above me and that I need to submit to you. But somehow I'm the one with the ego problem because I think we're all on the same level? You're projecting yourself onto me, buddy. And authority? What are you talking about? I'm not trying to have authority over you. I'm sitting here talking to you as an equal, trying to reason with you. You're the one that thinks you're up here and have this authority that I can't question. I know your snake games. You flap around with that contradicting, hypocritical, inconsistent forked tongue of yours. I know your games. And I make these videos to help other people understand these games. So if you like this video, which I assume you did because you watched all the way through here, I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting my channel in that way. If you could just pray real quick that God keeps me going and keeps this ministry going. In Jesus' name, amen. Just that prayer right there should be all I need to keep this going. But if you want to help out some other ways, you can like, subscribe, share the video, interact in the comments section. These things help generate attention to the channel and to like this video, for example. And helps feed the sheep, helps gets the gospel out there, and helps people, right? And it fights this spiritual fight that's done with words, to reason with people, to win over the hearts, minds, and souls of men and women, and not fight this physical fight when trying to just censor people and belittle them and try to just make them be under your thumb and under your authority and keep them from thinking and acting by their own convictions and just enslaving people. It's about getting people the truth and setting them free. And if you see that I'm doing that, then help support and keep me going. And if you're able to and you want to, you can support financially to really make sure this keeps going. Unless the economy just collapses and the dollar's worth nothing, well, then there's nothing we can do about that. But until then, if you want to financially support and you're able to, there's ways to do so in the description below. So thank you for watching and take care. I'll see you in the next one.